Hey, you crazy cats! 42's live streams and videos are simply not available on vinyl. You will have to go to the YouTubes for that. So if you want content about British traditions and culture, cutting edge social commentary from an unapologetically patriotic perspective, along with a side order of madness you simply will not find anywhere else, then this is the place for you. And to all those early adapters in the chat, don't forget to hit the notification bell. That's how you get the good stuff and make sure you never miss a tasty treat. So with that being said and done, squeeze yourself in. Let's get into it. You know you want to. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Please delete as applicable because the internet is worldwide and time zones are indeed a thing. Could I get an audio check in the chat, please? I'm going to start putting your names up on the screen, but I'm not going to give everybody a full shout out tonight because I have a guest on who is John Lawrence of the National Housing Party United Kingdom. John, what about you, chum?
Thank you, mate. Thanks. I'm goody. I'm really good.
Second time around. We are going to have to talk about this. I was a small bit of a plonker and did not set the time right. Anglo, who was in at the very start, says it's not like me to be late. And then I put in my little notice saying it messed up. And Emma G decided that I was a donut. So it's all good. Sorry about that, but it is what it is, and we're back to where we're supposed to be. Other than that, how the hell are you, John?
I'm great, mate. I'm great. It's a bit hit or miss with the weather. It still feels like it's winter, even though it's warm during the day. But we're good up here. We're good.
Oh, our weather has been very poor. Northern Ireland standards. We're still waiting on last summer. It never last summer never happened. I swear to God, we get told that we keep having the hottest summer on record, and I don't know where they were. Possibly Barbados or some shit like that, but it wasn't in Belfast. But we'll live in we carry on. Right, I'm going to do a very little bit of housekeeping. Let you know what is coming up because Sansom did send me through the notes, although he wasn't streaming tonight. What have we got coming up? 7 p.m. tomorrow, Jack and Rags have got Barkley Walsh on as a guest, which should be good. On Monday at 8 p.m., Sansom's channel, you have a triumvirate of truth or whatever the fuck it is they call it, I think. But be Sansom, DJ and William on that. John Davison on Tuesdays and Fridays, 9 p.m. And the other show that I like to have a shit. Oh, if you want a bit of news from down under and around the world on the issues that we sort of look at, Purge is a Cure, very good content. And if you want to actually just check out, have a chill out time, Dave's Waffle House, 8:30 every weeknight. It's matters a box of frogs, complete drivel, but it's good drivel. And we all need a bit of time to check out and keep our mental health okay. And that's one good way of doing that. So there you go. That is all the housekeeping out of the way. I'm getting quicker at this. So, right, where to start? John, I haven't had a conversation with you before.
Not proper, no.
No, not properly. You've been in the chat in streams that I've been on, or I've been in the chat and streams you've been on, but we haven't had a proper conversation. I've wanted to It's just the way things have worked out. It hasn't happened, but I'm glad we're doing it now. And also, we're definitely going to have you back on again because although tonight we are here, Jack, I'm going to interrupt it. No, I said I won't going to speak to anybody, but Jack, yes, you're welcome for the plug. By the way, we do that every week. Something you and Regs might want to think about, but there you go. Because Jack and Regs shout out fucking nobody ever. And we only ever brought that up. We never brought that up. We haven't said thanks, but there you go. But you're welcome, chum. Uh, yes. Hopefully, at the end of this stream, we're going to possibly get somebody on from the PTSD camp. Am I correct on this? Yep.
Yeah.
Hopefully, but we're
or
definitely going to be speaking about it. Yes.
yeah.
So I'm also hoping to get John back with people from the camp to do a full stream on that because it needs a lot more attention, and I would like to do that. In the meantime, we're going to talk about D-Day. Just before we start, uh, I think I think at the time of D-Day, well, my grandfather was serving, but uh, he was with the Navy and elsewhere, and I had an uncle that would have been in Italy at the time, so no family members that I know of. Well, I might find out later that were present on the Day of Days. What about yourself, John? Anything like that?
Um, uh, I think some like cousins and stuff like that in the distance.
Yeah,
But not anyone so directly right related to me. My direct relation to the armed forces is my uncle Richard, who served in the RAF from 1970s onwards. But yeah, and what I've got to say is like I'm 57 years old, me, and I'm in the generation where our parents lived through the war. My mum did, and stuff like that. So there has been a lot of focus on D-Day and stuff like that throughout my life. So
yeah, right. The first thing I'm going to say about the whole D-Day thing, I'm going to actually put up a little uh, picture I've got. Here we go. This my main thoughts about D-Day come around this 6th of June 1944 casualties. Allies 10,000, 2,500 death estimated. These figures may have changed because I made this meme a few years ago, and the figures for D-Day keep changing. Axis 4,000 to 9,000 estimated. All of them are male because whatever anybody tries to tell you, uh, we had an all male army, and there was no women about in this. All were male, all were disposable. Why else would these numbers be a guess? Because if they actually cared about these men, they would know exactly how many there was. Now, I do get was a bit confusion. It was a very big operation and all that, but you've had really fucking years to figure it out, chum. So that's uh yeah. So that's my first thoughts on it. And then anything you want to say about that? The other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to. I had to with. Where's my show notes? That's not them. That's not them. That's not them. Fuck me. Yep. Yes. This is where I want to start. D-Day is widely touted as the day that we regained, we brought the war back to Western Europe. However, at the time, we we had been fighting in Italy for quite a while. I'm not going to read all of this. I'm not going to read all of this. There's a couple of highlighted points that I want to hit. Right, here we go. Right. On the 10th of July 1943, Operation Husky, the code name for the invasion of Sicily, began with airborne and amphibious landings on the island's southern shores. Jarred by the Allied invasion, the Italian fascist regime fell rapidly into disrepute, as the Allies had hoped. On July 24th, 1943, Prime Minister Benito Mussolini was deposed and arrested. A new provisional government was set up under Marshal Pedro Baladago, who had opposed Italy's alliance with Nazi Germany, and who immediately began secret discussions with the Allies about an armistice. D-Day was in 1944. So 17th of August 43, Allied forces marched on the major port city of Manassa, expecting to fight one final battle. Instead, they discovered some 100,000 German and Italian troops had managed to escape the Italian mainland. The battle for Sicily was complete, but the German losses had not been severe, and the Allies' failure to capture the fleeing Axis armies undermined the victory. Uh, take that down again. Bring John back up. Uh, I'm curious to me because I always knew that we had fought in Italy, but I didn't realize that predated D-Day, and I don't know if that's uh, a product of all the films, all the news reports, all the emphasis that there's been since the war on D-Day being the start of the take back of Western Europe, uh, or I was just a bit thick. So, what was your thoughts on that?
No, I didn't. I didn't realise. But there were loads of different battles, weren't there, leading
Yeah,
up to D-Day across Europe, North Africa, I think, at the same
yeah,
time.
yeah. But turned them in El Alamein, and then things sort of went off. But then we were in Italy for about a year. Then we had D-Day. Uh, Granted, whenever we got on to France, it widened the frontier, although it wasn't a frontier right way across, but it spread the Germans out more than it had done. And probably without those two prongs, we might not have would have lost a lot more men. We would still eventually have won, but it would have been a lot more costly in terms of men. Pakistan, his granddad went up through Italy. There was a lot of stuff. We will come on to it again. They called the people that were fighting in the Italian campaign the D-Day Dodgers because they weren't there on D-Day, but they had already been fighting in Dam for about a year. Plus, there was a couple of divisions from Italy moved across to pull it out and then went back in with the D-Day landings. It's all a bit mad. No. The first one about actually about D-Day. I forgot how to fucking do everything here. My head's away with cancel that. I'm sorry, this is really janky. Tonight. Yep, D-Day overview. This is from the Imperial War Museum. and it is 10 things you need to know about D-Day. So I went with this because it sort of takes you through the basics of it. Uh, D-Day 6th of June was the largest amphibious invasion in the history of warfare. The statistics of D-Day, codenamed Operation Overlord, are staggering. The Allies used over 5,000 ships and landing craft to land more than 150,000 troops on 5 beaches in Normandy. The landings marked the start of a long and costly campaign in northwest Europe, which ultimately convinced the German High Command that defeat was inevitable. I'm not 100% sure that it did because they fought right on until the Russians landed in Berlin, but that's another thing. So, the first of the 10 things you need to know about D Day. D Day, 6th of June 1944, Allied forces launched combined naval, air, and land assaults on Nazi occupied France. The D in D Day stands simply for day, and the term was used to describe the first day of any large military operation. So, uh, throughout the war, there was lots of D Days, but this is the big one that we'll talk about. Early on 6th of June, Allied airborne forces parachuted into drop zones across northern France. Ground troops then landed across 5 assault beaches: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. By the end of the day, the Allies had established a foothold along the coast and could begin their invasion into France. Uh, that's not worthy of a lot of discussion, but we'll stop after this one. The defeat of the Germans was acknowledged by the Western Allies' principal war aim as early as December in 1941. Fuck, the defeat of Germany was known to be from the start of the war. The Imperial War machine could be a bit stupid. Opening a second front would relieve pressure on the Soviet Union in the east, and the liberation of France would weaken Germany's overall position in Western Europe. The invasion, if successful, would drain German resources, blocked access to key military sites, securing the bridgehead in Normandy, would allow the Allies to establish a viable presence in Northern Europe for the first time since the Allies evacuated Dunkirk in 1940. Uh, there's not a lot for us to comment on that, chum.
I mean, you said about landing craft, and what will show people later on, there was gliders that went over, and Alfie, he,
Yep.
he was one of them glider
Oh,
troops.
yes, the guy that you know from the camp.
Yeah, yeah,
He was in one of those gliders.
yeah.
Fuck. It is. Uh, it, that's one of those weird things where you see that because the gliders in particular have been depicted in so many films and whatnot, the flying coffins. It's strange to think that there's still those people about.
And I mean, sometimes you might think D-Day was like small or confined to a certain area, but it was miles and miles of coastline, weren't it?
Oh,
And you know,
it,
yeah, so many different targets and bridges and stuff like that. It's just amazing.
the the amount of planning and preparation that went into that, and right, you're going to go and do this, you're going to go and do that, you're going to go and do the other thing, and have it all come together. It is literally quite amazing. I'm going to go through some of the specialized equipment that was created just for D-Day later on as well, because that's a bit mad. Uh, right. Lieutenant General Frederick Morgan and his team of British, American, Canadian officers submitted plans for the invasion in July 43, although limited planning for an invasion of Europe soon began after the evacuation of Dunkirk in 1940. Detailed preparations for overlord did not begin until after the Trent Conference late in 1943. A command team led by American Dwight D. Eisenhower was formed in December 43 to plan the naval, air, land operations. Deception campaigns were developed to draw German attention and strength away from Normandy to build up resources for the invasion. British factories increased production in the first half of 44. Approximately 9 million tons of supplies and equipment crossed the Atlantic from North America to Britain. A substantial Canadian force had been building up in Britain since December 39. Over 1.4 million American servicemen arrived during 1943 and 1944 to take part in the landings. And here we have a picture of a tank with, fuck me, it's almost like the European Union. It is. It's whenever you have a look at the tank and the tracks and all those things, it is almost a bit like the European Union or something. But at least at that stage, it was going to something good. Nah. One second, I just want to have a check through the comments. That's okay. No, there's nothing too taxing. Don't need to get involved in. Right. D-Day required unprecedented cooperation between international armed forces. Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force was an international coalition, and although the Allies were united against Germany, the military leadership, responsible overlord, had to overcome political, cultural, and personal tensions. By 1944, over 2 million troops from over 12 countries were in Britain in preparation for the invasion. On D-Day, Allied forces considered consisted primarily of American, British, and Canadian troops. Basically, to make this make sense and easy, there was a whole bunch of Australian, Belgian, Czechs, Dutch, French, Greek, New Zealand, Norwegian, Rhodesian, and Polish naval and air ground support, but the bulk of stuff was done by the British, the Canadians, and the Americans. So you've got that. I've got a nice wee picture of the landings. Actually, yeah, John, is it just me that gets pissed off with the way that the smallest amount of participation seems to get a lot of people or groups of people credit that they shouldn't have?
What? Sorry, participation. You mean like?
Right. So if you've got 145,000 British, French, British, American, and Canadian troops, but you've got 5,000 from the rest of the world, but every individual country in the rest of the world gets the same credit as the three that did 95% of it.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, it does. It does boil my blood.
Yeah, I'm also thinking if there was something that a few different other countries did, and there was a small British participation, and it was seen as good, I think it would just ignore the fact that we'd been involved. That's the point I was sort of getting at.
Yeah.
It's similar to we're very insistent on talking about servicemen and servicewomen, particularly on the 11th of November, when, yes, I do totally respect the contribution that women have made to our armed forces over the years, but whenever it's 98% men that do the dying, maybe you don't have to put women behind it every time for inclusivity. Nah, right. So we've got that wee picture of the beach, which is looking a bit of a mess. Everything's all going on there. The invasion was conducted in two main phases: an airborne assault and amphibious landings. Shortly after midnight on 6th of June, 18,000 Allied paratroopers. Holy fuck. Could you imagine being like some wee German guy that's to look after this farmhouse and whatnot, and all of a sudden there's 18,000 fuckers coming out of the sky? That that's got to be freaky. We're dropping the invasion order to provide tactical support for infantry divisions and beaches. Allied air forces flew over 1,400 sorties in support of the landings, having secured air supremacy prior to the invasion. Many of these flights were unchallenged by the Luftwaffe. Nearly 7,000 naval vessels, including battleships, destroyers, minesweepers, escorts, and assault craft, took part in Operation Neptune, the naval component of the warlord. Naval forces were responsible for escorting and landing over 132,000 ground troops. On the beaches, they also carried out bombardments on German coastal defences before and during the landings and provided artillery support for the invading troops. And there we've got a nice picture of the beach and all those obstacles. Germany tried to defend the northern coast of France with a series of fortifications known as the Atlantic Wall. However, German defences were often incomplete and insufficiently manned because they had like about 400 miles of coastline. Members of the French resistance and British Special Operations Executive provided intelligence and helped weaken defences through sabotage. The Allied deception campaign succeeded in convincing the Germans as late as 1944 that the main invasion force would still land elsewhere. The threat of this larger second invasion kept the German reinforcements tied down away from Normandy. Defence also suffered from the complex and often confused command structure of the German army, as well as the constant interference from Adolf Hitler in military matters. However, the Allies faced a number of setbacks both on 6th of June and in the months that followed. On D-Day, the Americans came close to defeat in Omaha, particularly because of the preliminary air and naval bombardment failed to knock out strong defence points, but also because they faced highly effective German troops who had gained hard-earned experience in the Eastern Front. Throughout the Battle of Normandy, the technical superiority of their tanks and anti-tank weapons, as well as the tactical skill of their commanders, gave German forces an advantage over the Allies. However, the Germans were never able to fully exploit their success or the weakness of the Allies in a decisive way. I'm going to push back on that just a little bit and say that the problem on Omaha Beach might just have been that the ship that brought the American soldiers in stayed over a mile away from out to sea, away from the beach. All of their swimming tanks, as soon as they set off in that type of swell and that type of waves, they sunk. They had no tanks, therefore, to support them on the beach, move obstacles, and regardless of what you've seen in Saving Private Ryan, uh, where the American Rangers arrive in and they're pretty shortly past the Germans with a bungalow. They didn't get into the German fortifications until about lunchtime, whenever the Germans ran out of ammunition. Uh, so there's that. D-Day was made possible because of D-Day was made possible because of Allied efforts across all the front. We have talked about that. Both before and after June 1944 in planning D-Day, Allied commanders drew important lessons from previous failures in Dieppe in France and Alonso in Italy. The Allied strategic bombing campaign, which began in 42, weakened German industry and forced Germany to commit manpower and resources away from Normandy to home defence, securing air superiority and allowed the Allies to carry out aerial reconnaissance, giving them vital intelligence on German coastal defences. D-Day also depended on Allied control of the Atlantic, which was finally achieved 43 through victory in the Battle of the Atlantic. The campaign in Italy directed German troops away from the western and eastern fronts. The Soviet Belarusian offensive, Operation Bratin, was launched just after Overlord and destroyed the entire German Army Group Centre, as it also kept German forces tight down in the east. 10 weeks after D-Day, the Allies launched a second invasion on the southern coast of France and began a simultaneous advance towards Germany. And here we've got a picture of a tank in a ditch. Right, I'm going to go back and check the comments, check them with John. The other thing, the Germans, strangely, for weeks after D-Day, were still expecting another invasion because of the deception and stuff that went down. As we were saying earlier, it's like all those parts getting knitting together to create this one mad thing that happened and worked. The importance of D-Day often overshadows the overall significance of the entire Normandy campaign. Establishing a bridgehead was critical, but it was just the first step. In the 3 months after D-Day, the Allies launched a series of additional offences to try and advance further inland. Those operations failed in success, and the Allies faced strong and determined German resistance. The blockage, a particularity of the Normandy landscape characterised by sunken lanes bordered by high, thick hedgerows, was difficult to penetrate and placed the advantage on the German defenders. Yet the bloody and protracted Battle of Normandy was a decisive victory for the Allies and paved the way for the liberation of much of northwest Europe. And I'm not sure what this is a picture of. The Imperial War Museum could have done a better job and actually told us what the fuck these pictures were, because that to me looks like British and Russian troops meeting at the end of the war. But Overlord did not bring the end of the war in Europe, but did begin the process through victory was eventually achieved. By the end of August 44, the German army was in full retreat from France, but by September, Allied momentum had slowed. The Germans were able to regroup and launched failed but determined counteroffensives in the Ardennes in December 44, which we all know of as the Battle of the Bulge. And I think it was John Wayne who stopped them in that movie. The defeat sapped German manpower and resources and allowed the Allies to resume their advance towards Germany. Oh, here's a little cartoon of a Jeep with some Italian on it, and it actually tells what this picture is. There were many D-Days throughout the war. In this cartoon, one man says to the other, "When they call us D-Day Dodgers, which D-Day do they mean, old man?" So there you go. As we talked about this earlier, Alamein, Margaret, Sicily, the different places that they've been fighting, and they're saying the people are saying D-Day Dodgers. We were there doing something somewhere else. Don't worry about it. D-Day is generally a term for the start date of any military operation. The D stands for day. It is often used when the exact date is either a secret or not yet known. Some people thought soldiers serving in Italy were avoiding real combat in France and called them D-Day Dodgers. But troops in Italy had faced their own days in Sicily, Salerno, and Anzio, and were engaged in dangerous and difficult advance up the Italian peninsula. Yeah, because the soft underbelly of Europe and Italy that uh, they started to talk about turned out to be filled with German paratroopers, and they had quite the problems at Monte Cassino. So Spanish chickens on it was all Audie Murphy that saved the day. Actually, not John Wayne. Oh fuck, there we go. So that's an overview of D-Day. I'm gonna take a wild guess. No surprises.
It's amazing. It's amazing how many like different fronts, and like you said, them D-Day Dodgers were doing their own D-Day and were just as vital to the entire operation as Normandy was. And we don't always remember that in war, and that's in a lot of the battles that we've had in Europe.
We we tend to, and not only that, something that we can all take out of this. In order to get success against an opponent, regardless of what it is, it takes a lot of people putting different efforts at different directions to hit the wall from as many sides, angles, with different equipment, whatever, till eventually you get it down. And uh, one bunch of people just charging headlong isn't going to do it. It needs to be a spread out effort, which something that we can obviously see because we know what happened after the day. We know how it worked, but we're also now looking at the different nuts and bolts and cogs that there are, the what went on that day, and how it all interacted. Oh. Mm. Now, the other bit of content I was going to bring up was probably boom, boom, boom. Right. Yes, the weird equipment, which again is coming from the Imperial War Museum, but this one's actually slightly better. And I'll actually get it up on the screen for the entirety of the talking because I think I missed that with the last one. Sorry, I don't want to get a quick check at the comments. No, nothing to worry about in the comments. We're all good. Yes, the funnies. These unusual vehicles played an important role in D-Day landings in the Battle of Normandy and the campaign for Northwest Europe. The failed Allied raid at Dieppe in August 1942 exposed how difficult it was to land vehicles and men during the amphibious invasion and break through German coastal defences. Specialist armours needed to get across the soft sand and through the beach obstacles. The Allies made very few efforts to develop this armoured equipment until preparations began for D-Day. In early 43, the 79th Armoured Division, under the command of Major General Sir Percy Hubbard, was given the responsibility of developing equipment and tactics to perform specialist tasks of ground troops on or after D-Day. Not only did Hubbard improve on existing designs, he created entirely new technologies, and the vehicles of the 79th became widely known as Hobart's Funnies. So the first one we're looking at, so what happened here was they come up against a problem that we faced before, and they set about solving them individually. The swimming tank. You've got this tank with a skirt on it that drops down, and they put like a wee propeller in the back, and fucking off it goes. It swims, sort of, providing the waves aren't too bad. The duplex drive Swilling Sherman was an amphibious tank used on all five beaches in D-Day. Well, they never got as far as Omaha. The duplex drive engine powered propellers in the water and the tracks on land. The canvas flotation screen gave the tank enough buoyancy to support its weights without having to sacrifice armor or firepower. Once ashore, the screens were fully dropped and the tanks became fully operational. This allowed for a quick build-up of armor and provided most immediate support for the invading infantry forces. So if you're going to be coming up the beach, I would rather be running up behind a tank than without one. There's not much to talk about that. There's the crab flail. Crab was a Sherman tank with a flail, roller, and weighted chain attachment used to clear mines. The flail tank was not a new invention. The Moldova Scorpion was used during the Battle of El Alamein in 1942, but under Hobart's direction, the Scorpion flail was adopted for use in the Sherman. Unlike the Scorpion, the flail was powered by the tank's main engine. The Sherman also retained its 75mm gun, which could be fired as normal when the flail was not in use. So what we've got here is a tank with a whizzy chainy thing for taking out the mines. So it blows up the mines before, and it's on a prop out in front of the tank, so it'll damage the chain, and then it can carry on. But then other tanks can come in behind it on that path. Uh, I'm presuming you've seen both of those, John.
Me, yeah, I have, yeah.
Yeah, right. And we and here's where they start to get a bit more weird. The Arbor, the Churchill Arbor armored vehicle Royal Engineer was a modified Churchill tank fitted with a Pedegard spigot mortar designed primarily to demolish steel and concrete structures, such as bunkers and gun emplacements. Specialist equipment could be added to the RV to enable it to perform other tasks. So what they've done is take off the normal main gun, which would be used primarily to take out other tanks, and put this shorter, heavier thing that's going to take out concrete structures. The spigot mortar itself was a Panther spigot mortar. It fired a 40-pound bomb. A 40-pound bomb known as a flying dustbin. This big fuck off chunk of metal goes flying up a battlefield. Right. The carpet layer. The bob and carpet layer was Churchill armor adapted to lay reinforced matting on soft beach surfaces that could otherwise support the weight of armored vehicles or other heavy equipment. The matting allowed these vehicles to drive across difficult terrain. So you're you're going to go up a beach. There's obviously no road on it. Just fucking bring your own. What do you think?
Unbelievable, isn't it? But these things, they did loads of things during the war, making all these crazy contraptions and stuff like that. It's just amazing.
Oh, but the other thing is, see all these contraptions? They're unique to the British. It's it's almost as if we are naturally a bunch of people that solve problems, in ingenious ways. It's like, right, okay, this is what we're up against. Here's how we deal with it. Now, this one is a bit older of an idea. A fascia carrier. Others were used to transport rations, large bundles of wooden sticks and other materials used to bridge gaps in the ground. The other would release the Fasco into these gaps and create a passable surface. Tanks carried fashions were first used during World War during the First World War to fill in trenches that were too wide or too deep. So this is something that you use for getting across trenches, tank traps, any that sort of stuff. Big gap you need to get across. We'll bring a load of crap with us, drop it down in the hole, and roll across it. And the bridge, which is this thing that you can see in the background going straight up. Uh, this photograph shows an LBG small box girder bridge girder, small box girder bridge there on Sword Beach on D-Day. So the box girder is like that's the standard bit of metal that you see. Uh, Iron girders for stuff and whatnot. So we've built it out of this, and this is a tank with this bit of road. It, it could bridge up to 30 foot. So if you've got a big gap that the ones with the bits of sticks wouldn't want that, won't they? This one will give you 30 feet to cross, or to scale up a wall 15 foot high. And the reason why that's half is it'll go up over the top and down the other side. So you're 15 feet up one way and 15 feet down the other side. It was often used in conjunction with the flashing, which would provide a softer landing surface when the vehicle dropped from the surmounted wall or other elevated position. So if they're going down, it doesn't reach just quite far. They'll put a little stuff in there. And here we have a picture of the Ark, which is another bridging device. The armoured ramp carrier, also known as the Ark, was a modified Churchill tank with a formidable ramp in place of its turret. So what you're seeing here is two tanks. You've got one on the top, which is actually right on top of this other tank's had its turret removed, and it's got girders front and rear to form a span. It was driven in the gap where it opened up its ramps, creating a bridge that other vehicles could cross. Although they were used throughout northwest Europe, they were particularly effective in the later phases of the Italian campaign. This photograph shows two shackled arcs providing a pathway across the River Serrano in 1945. Fuck aye. There's two of them there. Can I make that? No, that does not work. I thought I was going to get an enlarged picture, but I'm not. I'm going to go back and check the chat. Claymores and wire colors are talking about. Right, nothing really else I need to get. John, anything you want to add?
No, but I can just like they knew where all these particular rivers were and all that lot. I just can't comprehend the amount of work to do to get everything there, to get these things in position. It's just like it's really like massive, isn't it? It's unbelievable when you go through it and you see stuff. But we had someone in D-Day who looked at all the museums and did some filming, and it showed a lot of this stuff, and the innovations the British did, and all that. It is absolutely amazing. It really is.
It totally is. And every time they found a problem, they just we've got an issue here. We'll find somebody to find a solution, and off they went. There's a hell of a lot of can-do attitude, which is sadly lacking in the British people today. The Buffalo LVTV landing vehicle tracked was a lightly armoured amphibious landing vehicle that, although easily damaged, was relatively quick and effective way to transport troops. Small vehicles supplied buffaloes in a significant role during the crossing of the Rhine and Ebers in 1945, when bridges were not immediately available. So these are like they even made small crafts that could sort of swim a bit, that were disposable. Yeah, as long as it gets us to the other side, we're not worried about using it twice. Get me to where I need to be. Oh, the Kangaroo Armored Personnel Carrier. The Kangaroo Armored Personnel Carrier was used for rapid transport of infantry, helping them keep pace with armour during offensive operations. During the Battle of Normandy, they helped solve the critical tactical problem of providing vulnerable infantry some means of increased mobility and protection. The Kangaroo was an improvisation first used by Canadian troops in Normandy before being adopted by the 79th Armoured Division. Many were adopted from the obsolete Canadian ram tank, which could carry approximately 8 men at once when the turret was removed. So what they did was they got all this shit stuff, took the turrets off, and went, "Can we use this to move men? Modify that, get it rolled out." Fucking the Canal Defence Light was a ground tank with a searchlight within its turret. Its main purpose was to provide light during night operations, but it also used to produce a dazzling effect to temporarily blind enemy forces. This actually is a thing because your night vision. Uh, if you've been out in a very dark environment all night, your eyes adapt to that. Whenever somebody shines a light in your face, it does take a while for your seeing to adjust. And if that's happening just before an attack's going in, you're not going to do very good at the defence. The CLD had a larger role as night operations become increasingly common in Northwest Europe. All of the funnies were developed in secret, but the CDL was the most closely guarded, which is interesting in itself because you wouldn't think that having tanks with searchlights would be the most critical thing to keep secret. Mm. With I have the cough there. Uh, let's see. Uh, what else do we need to talk about? And with that, I'm going to. Yep, we're going to do one of my poems. Going to do my poem about D-Day, and then we're just going to have a chat, and then we'll get the camp thing on. Did this share? No, present share screen. It's called 6th of June 1944. The first wave would never reach the sand. Chaos and death went hand in hand. Into this carnage more we'd land. Freedom they had come to preserve. Entering hell they kept their nerve. Utmost respect they do deserve. They fell to earth from darkest night, relieving Europe from its plight, descending through fire a wondrous sight. An airborne units called to serve, untold horrors they did observe, utmost respect they do deserve. Beginning on that day of days, honour won in so many ways in a kaleidoscope of berets. Too many stay in foreign land from the grand from the grand invasion Allied planned. The first wave would never reach the sand. It sort of sums up my thoughts on it. Uh, what else do I want to talk about? Uh, right. So we've got all these men. They go off, they do their job, they land on D-Day, they get through the rest of the war, and then they come home, and they do not come home to a land fit for heroes. And in 2023, things have not improved that much with regards to services provided for veterans. which is mostly what John's on here to talk to about us tonight. Uh, you've been quite involved with camp up in Wales. Is
No,
it? No,
Bath,
sorry, in
Somerset. Yeah.
Bath. Sorry, my my head's fried. So tell us a little bit about the camp.
So I met George Rayson, that's the paratrooper's wife, Dion, and I met her at a demo in Bristol, Justice for Bunny, Kevin Korean. Then on the way back, she said, we come to Bath. Went to Bath to their farm in Bath, and then Joe and Dion were telling us what they wanted to do and how they wanted to support veterans. You know what I mean? And, you know, we've known for years our veterans are not supported. You know, it's not something that's new. This is an issue going on years and the way they're treated. So they showed us what they wanted to do with the camp. And I've been loyal to Joe and Dion since, and to the PTSD camp, been down dozens of times. And they support veterans. They've got a bunkhouse to support veterans. There's veterans across all the movement who've been to the camp, such as Little Veteran, plenty of other veterans, and that's what they did, and they developed it, and we've kept it on and kept building it up. But you know, I'm not, I'm not somebody who's really empathic. Me, you know, I'm not really understanding of people's issues sometimes. But you know, I've seen veterans who've been supported through one way or another at the camp, and I've seen this through since 2018. And you know, I just think it's really important. Some of these veterans are really mistreated and put at the bottom of the list. So, you know, it spurred me and Pat to get a veterans policy in our party and, you know, to support veterans. But, you know, that's how I got into this lately. But, I mean, I was in the Boys Brigade, me, when I was younger, in the very early 80s. And, you know, it could have been me going into the armed forces, one way into the armed forces. And we've always supported them, especially people of my generation.
Yeah.
You know, and I just do think it's as much important now as it was back then to support these guys.
Well, not only do they not get a fair crack on it from the services. I worked with a guy who was ex Royal Irish Guards. So he was a guardsman. He was a full screw in the guards, full corporal. He carried the Queen Mother's coffin in her funeral. So he's a switched on guy. He's not, well, for a start, the guards are slightly more intelligent than the other infantry regiments. It's just the way they're selected and whatnot. There's a lot of people that start off with guards and then get told they have to go somewhere else because they're just not where they want it. What I'm saying is, he's not the type of guy that just came out of school with no qualifications and went infantry. He's a bit about him. He done over 10 years in the guards. Come out of it, come back to Belfast, or place just outside Belfast. What he found was all his friends that he had whenever he was at school before he left, they had all moved on. They had a life. And he didn't really fit in because everybody moved on. He hadn't. Found himself a bit isolated. The one thing that you can do if you're isolated and lonely and a young man, and especially if you're in the guards, well, let's go to the bar. So we did that a lot. And also, he got his wages and was like, that's what I've got to spend. He come out of the army, put a deposit on a house, bought a house, and didn't realize that he had to set up a payment for his mortgage because all his days in the guards, whatever went into his bank, that was his. It had all bills had been deducted for him. So he gained a lot of knowledge about how to look after himself physically, put him out in the wild, he'd be fine, do all that. But the actual day to day running a house, he knew fucking none of it. And he says that there's a lot of guys like him wouldn't know when to shit if they weren't told. Uh, because they went into the army, everything was done for them. And I think part of what we need is, uh, and it's not like we're short of space, pick three disused army camps, one in the south, one in the Midlands, one in the north, or one in Scotland. And everybody that's coming out of the army, they go into there and they're there for 6 months a year where they pay their own rent, they cook their own food, they do all the stuff that they need to do for themselves and they find it or they find work or whatever. And then they've had a proper decompression and a rehabilitation to civilian life because how these veterans end up at the bottom of the pile is to start off at the top with no experience of how to live in civilian life, and they just go down a drain. But uh, the collective thing would be to solve that at source and give them a proper civilian training. Uh, the army does a lot of courses like bricklaying or driving or whatever to get people skilled up for a civilian job after it, but they don't give them any training on being a civilian. And that's what puts a lot of them on the way down to the bottom as well. You know, so these people they've seen this problem, blah blah, blah, and then they started up the camp.
Yeah, yeah, exactly that. Honestly, that's if Dion were here, he would tell that story. You just say what you just said, about not knowing civilian life when he come out, and I've heard him say it, and that's what he says, and yeah, that would help, and that would be a good idea. But the only thing is, right, that just nudges at me is that, like, it seems to me that nobody wants to deal with people with mental health issues and these kind of issues. It's what it seems to me generally. I'm not picking on any particular person.
I don't even think it's a mental health issue. I think what's happened to these young men, or even older men if they're coming out older, is they've went from a world where people turn up on time, where people are respected, where you're given your title, where whenever you're told to do something, you do it, where whenever you tell somebody to do something, they do it, and they get tipped out into a civilian world where they can't get on with co-workers because they're fucking inefficient, stupid, and lazy, and it totally frustrates them. They try to navigate the services that are provided by our civil service, which is absolutely shite. And they get lied to because whenever you go to anywhere, say, yeah, I'll see what I can do about that. And then the eventual answer is no. And they get put round that mill. I think they're taking a natural reaction to a fucking very fucked up situation. That's not, if what if what's happening is you're feeling worried, confused, and angry because of the way society's treating you, I don't think that's a mental health issue. I think that's a natural reaction to a fucked up situation.
Yeah, like climatizing to the different situations.
Yeah, the opinion of Scotland says they've become institutionalized. Of course they have. Of course they have. The no matter where you go in the army, if you're in the British Army and you go into a barracks, the walls will be painted the same color, the floor will be the same color, the tables in the mess room will be the same right across the world. The chairs will be the same. The type of barrack that you go and live in will be the same. It's like the same fucking barrack that's been lifted from Gloucestershire and put in the fucking Guantanamo, right? And you're in the same thing. They do that interestingly with three things, so that you no matter what army base you arrive at in the world, it'll seem familiar, right? They do that with three things: army bases, prisons, because if you move a prisoner from prison A to prison B, it doesn't really matter, and everything's going to look the same. So they keep it all the same. So they do that with prisons, and the other place they do it is with schools. And if you're worried about institutionalization and all that sort of stuff, well, maybe have a look at how it's done to completion and not replicate that in our fucking schools because we want to raise our children as individuals, not indoctrinated fucking uh, nice little units with just about enough brain to work the machine, fill the paperwork, keep their fingers out of the widget machine. Uh, it is, oh, it's maddening. Rant over. Uh, yeah, so day to day life up in the camp is it, they just have like transient people coming through, staying for a bit, and then scooting off again.
Yeah, I mean they can they get more help. They've got like professionals who can talk to them and stuff like that, and they help them out with them like them things like getting an house that they
Yeah,
never learned in the army. They help out with stuff like that, and some veterans like are not particularly they're all right, they're fine, but there is other veterans who really struggle with, like you said, changing into civilian time and stuff like that. So they have had veterans who are like close to killing themselves and committing
yeah,
to, they've had, and then they've had veterans who just go for a break. There's nothing generally wrong with them. They just go for a break. They've had veterans who can be a family. Like one guy, he couldn't have his kids at his bedsit, but he could have his kids at the camp, and they built a bunkhouse. So he spent a summer with his kids at the farm, at the camp, and stuff like that. So, they do a lot. And at the moment, we're starting to take up courses. So at the moment, we're on a combat PTSD course with a guy in America to learn more about the issues and that.
yeah,
And so forth and stuff like that. So it's progressed on not just being a camp supporting veterans, but learning as well. I'm taking part in these courses, and as a local counsellor, I think that these courses can go a lot way to help me to deal with people with issues within my community. And there's many
yes,
veterans in the community. So I just think it's really good like that, and we're pushing more to do these kind of courses to help us support other people.
right. Uh, is your sorry? This is probably a stupid question, but anyway, so is that camp within? Is that close to the area where you live or where you're going to represent? No,
No,
it's just a fluke that what you're learning down there is cross transferable to your constituency.
yeah. Because I mean, before I ran as a counsellor, before I first ever run, I'd been to the camp for a few years, and now I'm running as a counsellor. There's veterans, there's people who are suffering with mental health issues. I've met a couple of people who've had PTSD. So I just think that doing these courses will give me experience to push and to help other people besides veterans, people within the
Yeah,
community.
yeah. PTSD is no joke. As someone that has it, um, and what happened to me was I had a one-off workplace incident where stuff happened that should never have happened and it could have died, and that changed my thinking meat somewhat. And but that's off a one-off incident. You know, that's not the trauma you get in combat where it's day after day after day, and that stress going day after day after day until something breaks. You know, the symptoms will be some of the symptoms will be the same, like you get the same intrusive thoughts, uh, issues around sleep and whatnot. There's a lot of stuff they're going to get that's going to be worse than me because it's not. Uh, Funny you mention that mental health illnesses are pretty unique to each individual. Uh, but yet, even just being around people and then hearing their stories and understanding, because it is veterans are still the population, and the issues that they have dealing with the stuff are going to be similar to other people that are not in their situation but have a parallel road, shall we say? It is very good. But I'm really interested in what they're doing with this camp. The other thing that makes me very interested in it, we have quite a lot of NGO type charities that don't tend to do anything boots on the ground, as it were. Whereas these people they have seen we've got a problem here, we need a solution, and that I do like that aspect of it. And the other thing we'll do is you sent me a link for their GoFundMe, didn't you?
Yeah.
Right, I'm gonna find that and get that in the chat. Uh,
Yeah, the saving up for a new bunkhouse. We just had last week. We just did a 5-day Big Brother / Celebrity Get Me Out of Here event. So you can imagine bugs and worms and stuff like that, and people with
oh,
drinking yogurt with crushed up beetles in it and stuff like that. And we raised £1,000, and there's work going ahead to build a second bunkhouse in the camp now. So that were good, but dead interesting. But yeah, what we just had a funeral, and it was Alfie's funeral. Alfie, he's a D-Day veteran, and when he was
yeah,
alive, he was only one of something like 4 alive from that particular date, and all that still left alive in England. And
oh,
we went to his funeral, and Joe and Dion got mentioned because we raised, me, Joe, Dion, people at the camp, we raised £15,000 for Alfie when he became homeless.
yes.
Yeah. Uh,
Was wasn't were you telling? Is Alfie the guy you were telling me earlier was one of the gliders?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is Joe and Dion. So they got a mention in at the funeral. So I stood up, everyone clapped. And when I pointed out to Joe, she said, "It's not about that, John. I don't want any recognition. I just want to help our veterans." So this is a veteran's wife, and Dion served around 30 years in the armed forces. Well, he served in the armed forces, but he did private work as well. And he'd been in, so she knows what it's like, and they've never faltered to me. They've always supported veterans and whatever they can do. So, but yeah, it's
Right. Well,
go on.
people, the I have posted the GoFundMe link in the chat, and after the show, I'm going to put it in the comments, not the description. It's going to be, and I'll pin that comment. Uh, I'll put something about if you like to donate the PTSD camp. Uh, we'll have that flagged up. The other thing I want to flag up and interact with is Anglo has a question. Dangerfield doesn't believe in mental illness, PTSD, and the sort. I imagine thoughts. I don't. I don't think PTSD is so much mental illness as it is a brain injury. Something happened that damaged part of the brain, and then it worked differently, which is different from a mental illness. I think it's a brain injury. Uh, Again, I don't have PhD to put behind that, but that's just my opinion. I would say I would, the difference between that and a mental illness such as histrionic personality disorder is you can point to an event and go, this happened to me on that day. How my thinking might work changed on that day. Uh, Whenever you do the MRI scans, you can see that there's differences in brain patterns post trauma and stuff. So that's how I would explain that one.
Well, I mean, Alfie, like I said, he come over in a glider, and he didn't tell me this story, but he told Darren and Dion on a previous visit that a glider landed nearby to him on fire, and everyone was just incinerated in the glider. You know what I mean? Now, if that's not going to affect your head, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Well, they call them flying coffins.
Yeah.
You know, they what they didn't land. They crashed upright more than anything else. So they didn't even fucking wheels. And everybody in the back linked arms and hoped that that would keep them in the same place as were as the thing went down. And oh, the other thing about those gliders, that's okay. Say you land and all the soldiers get out back and everything's good. They go off to do their bit to fight the war. I don't think a pilot's getting that glider to take off again. He's on his own to make his own way back to the coast and hopefully get picked up by some of our people and not the Germans on the way. You know, there's a lot of the airmen said after D-Day says, I don't really care what you give me to fly, but I want to be able to fly back again.
It's unbelievable. It is. And I mean, like I said, we had, it's called Gordon Stephen Carrick, and he's home guard. He's ex-home guard. And, he never went abroad, never sent, but he did with his little scooter. Gordon's in his like late 60s now. In his little scooter, he went and did a tour in Normandy. So he visited Pegasus Beach, which was where the gliders landed. Yeah. And we did a couple of streams and we went through pictures. We had other veterans on talking about stuff similar to what you're doing now with this stream.
Yeah.
And he took hundreds of photographs and stuff like that. And while he was away doing this, Alfie died.
Oh.
So I mean, it was hard on Gordon because he was doing this because of Alfie and because of the camp. So on one of the streams, they were nearly crying. You know what I mean? He just couldn't believe that he wanted to do this. He did it, and then Alfie died. And it was hard on us all because I'd met Alfie myself personally, and as you know, I've got a couple of little video clips of him talking about his life. And it were hard on me because when I seen Alfie, he looked strong. He sounded strong, even though he's 99, and stuff like that. And then the next minute he was gone. And so, we've had a tough couple of months. We have. And I've known about Alfie since he got made homeless. That's when we started supporting him. I was the first person to put into that £15,000 GoFundMe. £5, my money went into it. And I was the very first person I put the GoFundMe out. So, we raised that money for him. He managed to get rehoused. And then we went down supporting him, done some videos. And his daughter and Alfie said that he never knew that people would be so nice to him because he's never felt it, and his daughter said that she felt like he was just ignored and that, but not by us, not by those who support the veterans, So, it's been good. It's been interesting. I've learned a lot. It has been a bit upsetting because I look after my mum at the moment, and she's 88 and not well. So
Yeah.
I know what it's like, and I've looked after her for 5 years. So, but I were honoured to meet him. I were honoured to meet him in Bath, and so were all the rest of the paras. Half of them paras who you see in a picture were at the at Alfie's funeral, and this guy here,
Hmm.
Adrian, he did a speech for Alfie, and it was just a fantastic speech, and I'm just honoured that I got involved, to help them all and that.
Oh, and I hear you met a friend of this channel down at the camp, Mr. Rory Herbert.
Yeah, Rory, top man with his JP Morgan car. Lovely guy. He came twice. I know the difficulties. His daughter was expecting twins, which she's had now. So we did
Oh,
talk
has
to him.
oh has she had it?
Yeah, yeah,
To be totally honest with you, I haven't emailed him or asked him or anything about it because he's got enough people. But we're quite waiting on the news. So he's had the twin. She's had the twins.
yeah.
Can we get an hour in the chat for Rory, please? Uh, he'll, he'll maybe watch us back, but yeah, I'm really glad to hear that they have came through good. Rory, a really lovely man. It turns out Rory's grandfather and my grandfather were both wounded on the first day of the storm within about a
Right.
mile of each other. And whenever I did, whenever I started this channel, I really didn't know what it was, but it was doing something, and it was about British history and culture. So it was doing about different historical events. And whenever it came to do, was going to do the one about the storm, which was always going to be quite emotional for me because of the 36th Ulster Division and the formation of Northern Ireland. But Rory had said about his grandfather being wounded on the storm, as my grandfather was, and I invited him on, and it turned out that the unit his grandfather was with was pretty much next to where the Ulster lads were. So they were like within a mile of each other, and I had Rory on to do the one about the storm, and I talked about the bit that my grandfather's unit did. Roy talked about stuff that his grandfather's unit did, and then we talked generally about the war and stuff. Uh, so from then, whenever I've had anything military that I'm talking about, I tend to bring Rory on. The other thing is his family is a very long military history. So I tend to bring him on, and then I'd say to him about this, and he said about the twins, and then he said about yourself. And then you got in touch with me, and I was like, yeah, let's do that. So I'm really glad of that. But yeah, Rory's a really nice bloke.
Yeah, he doesn't live. He lives about an hour and a quarter away from the camp. So we are expecting him to come
Yeah,
again, come down, and
yeah. Get the Morgan out.
yeah, his car is lovely. His car is lovely. When I seen it, I'm like, what? And it is lovely. But he's a geezer. He is Rory. I like him. So he came while we were doing the Big Brother. So he's seen a little bit of what we're doing and that. But yeah, a fantastic guy, Rory. He's loyal, and he's got he's someone that we can honour. Like we can honour Alfie, we can honour Rory. But I like him. I like him. He's been on the stream a couple of times, and I have seen him actually on your stream before a while back. Not too long back, but I did see him, and then he got in contact with us. But yeah, great stuff. And I just want to hopefully this guy here, that's Dion Drayson, that it's his camp.
Right.
He's a para who served and then did 30 years as well as private work and stuff like that. But like I said, I've seen the camp from. I always say this. It does people's head in a bit, but I'm one of the first people at the Camp 42. Me, not any. Some veterans knew about the camp, but I was like the first civvy to see
Yeah,
and I've supported them ever since, because obviously I do videos, I stream and stuff like that, which has always been supportive. I've had Joe and Dion on streams, you know, we've talked to
yeah,
various people, but it's good to focus. And I'm not saying I suffer from things, I just have an exhausting life looking after my mum. So
yeah. That that's its that's its own problem. That's its own whole problem. But
And when I go to the camp, it's in the middle of nowhere. I'm not near any streets. I can't hear cars zooming down roads. You don't hardly ever hear a police siren or anything like that. I'm sat in a field, surrounded by in a valley. You know what I mean? And it's just so peaceful. It really is, and that's how I get my R&R. And I've spent 3 Christmases at that camp. So yeah, I just can't say enough about it.
well, there's another thing. As much as you're up there helping, you're getting away from everything for a while, which is its own medicine. You know, and it does sound absolutely lovely. And like I said to you before the stream backstage, I do want to get Dion, yourself, Dion, a couple of people from the camp on and do a stream dedicated to it because it needs its own stream. Uh, we need to get the information out there and let people know what we're doing. The other thing, how the election for the council and stuff, how's all of that going?
Well, so let's say 3 years ago, in my ward where I'm running, I would have had to get well over 1,000 votes, coming on to 1,500 votes to get a seat in the ward. Now that has dropped below 1,000 because of the Workers' Party, because of the Gaza and Israel issue. It's just taking votes off Conservative and Labour. So now I've got a better chance of getting in. I've got a 5-year plan. I've done 3 years. And in that 3 years, besides reporting fly tipping, I've reported antisocial behaviour and got people moved out of the area who are dangerous. And I've been going to meetings with residents of the Hollingwood to the council with their issues. And what it is now, what it is 42, I used to always get portrayed as a thug, you know, because of some of the stuff I've done. But now people are seeing that I'm a sensible, I can sit down at a table, I can talk about issues, and this is the way I'm going. And
the other thing is you've now got some longevity to it. It's not like you've turned up. Who's this person that's in here shouting about this issue that we don't know from Adam? You've now got quite a few years of being there, being about, and right, oh, right, that's John. He's interested in A, B, and C. Yeah, and he's got a bit of a wide mouth on him, so it might be an idea to get him to speak to us and not everybody else.
Yeah.
You know.
But I mean, like, I am ruthless. So any issue that comes up, I do a video on it. And in the last election, there was trouble outside of one of the polling stations where I are running, and a guy's come round from the polling station, and he said he felt intimidated with the people who are at the polling station. So there's a Labour members and a Labour candidate, and the independent members and independent candidate. None of these people are white. None of these people are white. Yeah. And this guy said he felt intimidated. And there's other areas in Oldham where this goes on. I flew around and did a video and called him out, mate. I did put it on TikTok, said, listen, we don't live in a third world country. We live in the UK, like where you're supposed to be you know, democratic, yet we have this kind of stuff going on at polling stations, you know, and you know they don't like me for that, the council. They really don't, because I'm blunt, and if it's a black, if something's black and it's done something, I call it black. I will not call it white. It gets
Yep.
called black. Do you understand me? And they
Yep.
don't like that. They really don't like that. But I talked to a Labour councillor who was 2 years ago. He was a Labour councillor in that particular area. He talked to me, and then at the end of this little chat, he said, "John, if you carry on, you're definitely getting a seat. You're a good person. I see that. You want to tackle issues. You're not afraid of speaking out, you know, and you know you're supporting people." This is coming from a Labour candidate. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? What he said to me.
Well, there's the other thing. I have no doubt there are some individual Labour candidates that are decent people
Mm,
and have got sucked into that, and it's not really their fault what the rest of the Labour Party's doing. But they might want to have a look about them and go, is it really worth it to have this L behind the name with the rest of the stuff that they're doing? It, it's a hard one, but it is good that he actually that he acknowledged you're doing well, and he's saying, yeah, sooner or later you're coming from my seat.
yeah, there's been a couple of other incidents that has sort of like made it look like I am doing a good job, which I am. But you know, like it's how they brand you. You know, they'll always brand us who speak out on here as thugs and stuff like that. And that now the council are actually seeing that I am like councillor material, and I'm the kind of person who should be on the council. And I'm ruthless, me 42. Our council, 90% of it is box tickers.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna but dumb it down. Box ticking. You're either a woman, an LGBT, a black woman, that kind of thing. Box ticking, and you know,
but
and I have to be honest.
whenever you look at what local councils do, 'cause basically their job in local council should be emptying the bins, should be looking after the roads, should be making decisions on planning applications. Yes, you can have an extension on your house. No, you cannot turn that 4 bedroom house into 4 flats. Uh, all that sort of stuff, which is what the councillors do with 90% of the day. Like when the wee committee, SPNR, strategic planning resources, and they make all those decisions and take it up and they do the local community events and whatnot. But then they go a big massive step to the left and they inject all their passion projects into it. The LGBT, the women, the immigrants, the whatever the hell the flavor of the day is. What I'm thinking is the only way we get meaningful change is a put instead of going after all their initiatives that they try to put in, let them be. See the thing that they spend their 90% of the time on, which is their planning permission, their uh, bin collections, all that sort of stuff. Pester the life out of them on that, because not only are you allowed to do that, you're encouraged to. You're encouraged to. So if somebody puts in a planning permission for, I don't know, there's planning permission for a new gym being built, which will normally get somewhere between 5 and 25 responses, right? Because the only people that's going to be interested in that is the people that live in that street. If all of a sudden they have 1,000 responses, and say on the form there's 30 questions, and one particular question, the answer is, due to uncontrolled immigration, we have no we do not know what the population is going to be, and we cannot therefore provide proper services until we know how many people are for. Then they're going to have to do something because it's going to fuck up with the stuff that they do 90% of the time. This bit where they step to one side, do all their passion projects, and then step back and expect everybody to let them continue with their day job as if they haven't done this other thing. That's where we're missing out. We have a massive opportunity to go in and just fuck their shit right up and break the civil service, break that whole system, because the only reason why the civil service can currently work as it is because 95% of the people are not engaged with anything. And if you take, see on an average, right, we're now on a Saturday night. It's fucking, it's after midnight on a Saturday night. There's 22 people watching this live, right, which is minuscule. I get this minuscule. I'm glad that there are 22 people turn up, but it is what it is. But then there's lots of other shows. See over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the United Kingdom, how many people do you reckon spend 30 minutes engaged in some form of political uh, discourse online through Twitter, uh, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all that? How many people do you reckon you think you would have that spend that half an hour? Would it
Um,
be 5,000?
it's got to be thousands. It's got to be.
Yeah,
I think it's going to. It'll be a big number, that, especially now with what's gone on.
right. Okay. Now here's the thing. See if instead of watching this for a half hour or watching Sargon of Akkad or GB News or whatever, see if they all went and put an objection to fuck. Here's an even easier one. The the government has this thing on their website where there's a load of possible petitions to be discussed in the House of Parliament. What if enough of us all went and just clicked yes to everything and made them debate all of those topics to take up their time? Then they'd have to actually do something about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you're talking about there is similar to, like, what did he call it now? Lobbying.
Yeah.
Lobbying. There's something we should do more of, but we don't as a community. We do that lobbying. Email.
We do none of it. The problem is that the other side do all of it.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Right. The difference between the right and the left is the left will consistently complain about everything. And by the way, their numbers are fucking minuscule. If they can get 100 people onto a planning application or a consultation document, that's a lot for them. But we would have enough people to totally fuck the government over if they took 10% of the time that they spend online and used it to attack the well, I don't know if attack's the right word, to interact with the government and say that planning application, no, that planning application, no, all the plan, just go through a whole lump of planning applications. No, 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 no. Don't care what it is. See until we figure out how many people we've got in the country, nothing's allowed to be planned. And then fuck with their day-to-day business. And then they have to deal with us because not dealing with us gums up their whole machinery. And there you go. D-Day, we turned up with tanks and stuff with the Germans. You go back through the history of Britain, we are not traditionally a tolerant people. Whenever we got pissed off with the government, we turned up with pikes. And there was uprisings. It was over uprisings that we got land rights. It was over uprisings that we got voting rights. We have uh, every time the government got too far out of line, we rose up and the government had to change. And now we can't even turn up with a fucking a Bix pen. But I think that would be one way of possibly getting towards movement and change.
The Pitchfork Rebellion, yeah. Actually, the camp is located right in the area of the Battle of Monmouth, which was like an uprising down in Bath. And there's a bit of history around the area where the camp is. Again, something I didn't know of, but something I've learned and looked into, since going to the camp. But I love these kind of things are really interesting to me and well worth to research them and to look into facts and figures and stuff like that. It's really good. But yeah, we have been intolerant of our government in the past. The Pitchfork Rebellion, one
Yep.
of our first banner drops in Dover, we had pitchforks with us.
Yeah, and Willie saying Peasants' Rebellion of 1361. Then there was another peasants uprising in the 1600s. It's not, yeah, Peasants' Revolt. Then we had the Magna Carta. This all came from groups of people coming along and saying, "Here, government, you're not doing it right." And there's also the small matter that we did actually behead a king for not doing what he was told. So we keep getting told that being tolerant is a great British tradition. I would love to know what Bloody Mary executed one person every week for being the wrong religion during her reign. Doesn't sound too tolerant to me. It's we have we have a long history of doing this. The other thing I will say is, as much as we've talked about the pitchfork uprising and whatnot, we don't want that. We do not want our people going out trying to confront the police and heaven forbid the army on the streets. That's not the way to go. But we could actually turn up at the members of parliaments every time they do
Hustings and
hustings, surgeries. Most of them do surgeries where members of the public are allowed to walk up and talk to them. The other thing is, your member of parliament works for you, so whenever you send them an email, they are obligated to answer. It's not going to be them, it's probably going to be an aide, but it does take up some of their time. And believe you me, the MPs are okay at the minute because the majority of people don't contact them, but we could overwork them. And the effect of them being overworked will eventually lead to a change. And the other thing is, this is not something that's going to happen in a week or a month or even a year. The left has been working on lobbying for a couple of 100 years in its various guises, and we're not off the blocks. So we have a bit of catching up to do, but it could be done.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of the I like going to surgeries and public meetings that have been recorded, and I've brought up really controversial things in some of these meetings. More controversial one you see on telly, I'll tell you that. And people have been shocked when I've mentioned them, but it's factual stuff. But I do believe in lobbying. You've got to question your MPs and your councillors personally. Don't do it online. get to that local surgery, get to the meeting, and if anybody in Manchester wants me to speak for them at their local surgery or anything, get in contact with me. I'll sort something out and I'll come down. And through doing this, I've had access to meetings with Andy Burnham, Mayor and Crime Commissioner of Manchester, through standing up and saying and speaking out for somebody. And so it does work. And I like that. I like that approach is does really well for me, mate. It does, but again, there's a lot of ways to do this. We've got like groups that do community action things and come together. We've got political groups. I want to run as a local council. That's where my skill is. My skill isn't in demonstrations. It's not live streaming. My skill is knocking on the door, talking to people to get them vote for me. That's me. But 42, your skill is doing your streams. So that's good. Yep. And then in Anglo-Saxon in the chat is strength, is street action and stuff like that. So we've got to come together with all these things, not bicker over each other, and we'll soon have that government whipped up.
As I said earlier, as was seen with all the different bits and pieces and that were brought together for D-Day, to get the success, everything's important, and it all needs done. We need different people doing different things, different times, at different places, and that creates the one large wave that's going to actually move us forward.
Can I just side boxing, John? You won't get in, mate. You don't get it yet. Well, how did George Galloway get his MP position? He's 80 off 649 of the MPs in Parliament, and he got his position. I've spoke to Nick, and I am doing I'm looking at local counselling. That's what I'm looking at, and I'm very confident that I will get a seat.
Oh, Southside Boxing, I've got a question for you. See this sitting there fucking arse on the internet slobbering at people? Tell me what change that's making. Because I'm reckoning it's none. We can bicker at each other and we can bicker at each other all we want, but that it doesn't really get us anything forward. And the other thing is we need to at least try. We need to at least try. We've got to a point where something needs to change, and we've got a choice. We can decide to do nothing, or we can decide to do something. And I would go with doing something.
But it doesn't mean that I won't support other things. I won't. Yeah. You know what I mean? I do my thing, but I will support other causes. I do still go on the odd demonstrations and stuff like that. I've got a big issue with the prison system. Obviously, I do a lot with veterans. There's a lot of ways. But if we come together, no matter what, we can win this. But, like running in local election, I'm confident getting my local seat. Whether I go higher than that, I don't know. But through me getting that local seat, I can push for change in my town. And it will come. More people are speaking out now than they ever have done before. The percentages of people running as independents and small, hyper-local political parties is absolutely staggering how it's gone up. But we won't see this on the election results. We just see blue and red, but they don't show you the percentages of independents, small, hyper parties like my nationalising party, and they are increasing and changing the dynamic of, and will change the dynamic of voting in the UK. It will come. But again, and the last one is, how do we know something's broke if we've never used it?
That's exactly it. I don't know. See, what happens to the culture war if our side actually turns up? What happened? What happens in the elections if our people actually turn up? What happens in the council meetings? What happens in the way our country works, it's actually surprising how much a few people in key places can change things. And the other thing is, if John does his thing and does well in his constituency, well, surely that could spark somebody on to replicate that in a different constituency. And what I will say at the very least, see if you don't like what somebody's doing, you've got an option of ignoring them. You can say, right, they're going to do their thing over there. I'm going to do my thing over here. You don't need to grate against each other. You can do things simultaneously on a parallel line. And to be perfectly honest with you, we need people doing uh, different things, looking for a similar outcome on a parallel line. And the only thing I can say I'm 100% sure of, what we've done up to now is not working. And as much as everybody can say that the people that landed on the beach or in the fields on D-Day were not looking for Great Britain to be the way it is today, but it wasn't them that put it the way it is today. It was us, and it's up to us to unfuck it. Because if we don't change it, nobody's going to. No. Right. Anyway, we're coming up to 12:30, and we're also coming to 2 hours. Do you want to try to bring somebody in from the camp, or is that going to be a not work?
I think it's going to be a no, but
Yeah, but what we'll organise and get that done properly on another stream and get them on for a full stream.
yeah, definitely. I'll pass you your details over to Darren, or I'll pass Darren your details. You can work with Darren, but yeah, we will definitely, and I'm sure that they'll come on the stream 100%. But I just want to say, I mean, like 2018, we have had a lot of trouble at the camp. I don't know if you know this, but 3 years ago, it got raided by the police, and up to that point, we had many high-profile campaigners going to the camp besides myself, and it scared the police. They raided the camp for illegal weapons. They found none. A 4-day operation costing more than £1 million, hundreds of officers, and in the end, there's no further action against Joe and Dion, who were arrested for 3 days and there was no illegal weapons found on the camp. And the camp is always targeted by
Sorry,
the Jewish chronic.
Look, why was somebody coming looking for weapons?
Honestly, we don't know. There's never been no answers to this, and but there was nothing there. There's no illegal weapons on the camp. It's not a training. It's not an extremist training course or anything. It's a camp for like a farm and a camp for veterans, and that's what they did. The Avon Somerset Police, so they've got a lot to answer for. And I'm not going to forget this, and I'm going to try and confront the MPs in the area, and I will be complaining to the police. But that's how we get treated. But
can we talk about this quickly after?
Yeah, of course we can. Yeah.
I'm going to go after this one. Here's one thing that I know for a fact. If something came through in a phone call, the people who own the property have the right to hear that phone call and any phone calls 5 minutes before and after.
What do you mean? Like if someone was saying about the camp?
Say for sake of argument, the police turn up to look for weapons because somebody's picked up a phone, phoned the police and said, we think there's weapons in this camp. The people who own the camp, run the camp, are entitled to hear that phone call and any phone calls within the 5 minutes before it or after it.
Interesting.
That well, there may be some others. We'll need to have a chat and get me in touch with these people. I would like to do my ninja thing and piss people off to get some fucking answers. Because
Well,
that's one skill set I do have. That's your skill, talking to people on the doors. My skill set, fucking off politicians, fucking off civil servants, and making them do what they said they were going to do. Find the policy, examine the policy, make them do the policy. And I would be very interested in having a go at that one.
right, I will get them in touch with you, but that'll be good. That, but you know, I mean, Joe's feeling a bit lost at the moment because we haven't. We're trying to get somebody to like support us, the camp, with that side of things. But you
Oh,
know, like
I, I, I think he's just found somebody.
good. Recently, the Jewish Chronicle and Simon Fell MP have said something about the camp. So I consistently, all the time, tag them in my tweets and call them out, you know, and stuff like that. And like, it's just unbelievable how you get treated. And I'm a prospective local councillor. I'm not a thug or anything. And if someone's gonna be treating me like that, they am gonna complain. In this last election we had, in the Rochdale by-election, Simon Dansack, the Reform candidate, got threatened with his life, and another candidate, independent candidate, got well, police said racially abused in the street off like pro-Palestinian supporters. So at the last candidate and agent briefing, the police turned up. So my hand went up, said, what happened in Rochdale? Am I supposed to take that? He went, no, you can report it. I said, no, what I'll be doing, mate, I'll be putting them on their ass and citizen arresting them. Then I'll phone you lot. I'm not being abused in the street like that. And I'm not a person who abuses anyone. But, you know, like, we live in a time now where if you get threatened with your life or racially abused, then, you know, like, you're in trouble. You know what I mean? I'm just not standing for it, me. And I said to him that the chief executive of the council were there, the elections boss and the copper, and 3 Asian guys who are probably all pro-Palestine. And that's what I said. I said, I don't support either side. I find it offensive that I get bullied into it. And I'm going to take measures and steps to make sure it don't happen to me. The copper went, you can't citizen arrest them. I said, I can, mate. I can't. It's a crime if they abuse me in the street. Don't think I can't put them on their ass and then phone you. That's what I said to them, 42.
Yep. See that whole Palestine Israel thing. Whenever I seen the videos of the Iranians sending the missiles in, and what happened was, or was it was the Iraqis? I think they sent missiles in, and there's these missiles going over, and there's missiles from Israel going up and knocking them out. And I'm looking at thinking, see those missiles going from left to right. Somehow I've paid for them, and see those missiles going from right to left and knocking them down. I've paid for fucking them too.
Yeah.
What could really mad idea? What about everybody just leaves it the fuck alone? You don't get any money. You don't get any money. You can figure it out between you.
Just one more thing. You said D-Day stream. See what Rishi Sunak did?
Oh fuck! He trotted off early.
Yeah, ITV election interview. You know, now I don't know if people are realizing that like that's the most traitorous thing ever. I can't stand Rishi Sunak. I can't stand him that he's 100% Indian. That's why, because I think the representation of the UK should be like at least 50% UK. You know what I mean? It's just one of my bits. It's a bit. I'm not saying it's extreme. Pat doesn't fully agree with me, but that's my personal thing. I want someone to represent me who like I can consider someone British, and I don't consider him. He's ethnically Indian, whether he were born here or not, and I just can't be doing with him as leader. I can't. As soon as he's finished as prime minister, he's off. But how dare he do that? And he's he's a leader of our country, but there's lots of our MPs who are like that, mate. There isn't who are anti, like army and stuff like that, and they don't care about our veterans and stuff. But I can't believe it. Surely he's going to totally lose the election. It won't be for anything else except for that. That's what he should lose the election on, just that one thing. Oh.
It boils my piss. The other thing is, well, there's two things. I'm not even sure he should have been there at all. See if you spend all year complaining about British people. See whenever the British people come together to mourn or remember their loved ones or their former soldiers. See if you spent all year talking shit about British people. Don't turn up that day. We don't want you. Because it's disingenuous. I think he only went in the first place because he was told he had to. Are you checking comments, sir?
Yeah, well, no, someone just said he's half Indian, half British, but he isn't. It says his parents are of Indian descent. Doesn't say whether any of them were mixed race or anything. It says his parents of Indian descent. So
I honestly don't know, but I'm going to guess that the probability is that he has two Indian parents, but was born in Britain.
Yeah, he was. He was definitely born in Britain, but it doesn't make him British, though, does it?
No. Well, technically speaking, he was born in England. Doesn't make you English being born there. In the same way, if you being born in a country doesn't make you of that country in the same way that floating across a bit of water doesn't make you of that country either.
I just can't believe he did that. He did that on the 80th anniversary of D-Day.
Yep. So for those of you that don't know what, Rishi Sunak was there representing Great Britain at a remembrance event in Normandy in France and left it early because he had to do a interview. That's what happened. Now, as we're come to wrap up, John, is there anything else you want to talk about or plug, or is there anything that we've missed?
Well, I'm on Tuesday, and I'm on stream with Rags and Jacks. 8 p.m. on NHP UK TV channel, which is mine, and we're going to do like a pre-election review, and then on the 9th of July, I think, or the 7th or 9th of July, then I'm on Rags and Jacks' channel, and then we'll be doing an election review. 7th of July, we'll be doing an election review. And I like me election reviews. I've been doing them for the past like 5 years, and I'm interested in the SAT. So yeah, that's up and coming. Tuesday, Rags and Jacks, me, Pat McGuinness, Paul Rimmer, post-election review, and then on the 7th of July, we're going to do an election review on Rags and Jacks' channel. But I'll make sure it's all out and all that lot. So
excellent. And the other thing I was going to say is, you and Pat are both come over to Belfast for the festivities in July.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll get to meet up with you and we'll have a bit of a chat and a look around and whatnot. But what I will say is, if you and Pat want to come on after that in July to talk about what you think of the whole thing from not being local to here and it not being what you were brought up with from a child, because obviously that's my experience. Lived here, been going to watch the parades from I was in my mummy's belly. Haven't missed the 12th of July. But it would be very interesting to hear the perspective from English people coming across.
Oh, I loved it last year. The Shankill Boys was leading the main march, and I did a stream down Shankill Road, and I loved every minute of it. I loved everyone I talked to. We ended up talking with loads of the band guys and all that lot. You know, and it's the kind of thing that that I live for. This sort of thing, and it was brilliant. I loved it, and you know, I felt welcome.
Yeah,
All the time I was there, but I'm going to be in Belfast for 4 days now, and a couple of them I will be on my own, so I'll be able to really pick up. I'm going to go different things. I'll look at different places and stuff like that. But yeah, I really did enjoy it last year, and I don't see that why I'm not going to enjoy it this year.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty much the same. It's the same every year.
I couldn't believe how many Union Jacks I seen.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, hopefully, we get to meet up. I'd give you a tour around East Belfast, maybe neck of the wood, the nicer side. I'm not. No, I'm not. I was fine nearly going to go into some East Belfast, North Belfast banter, but I'm not. I'm going to be good. I'm not going to say anything about North Belfast being where they put the sea or anything, because that's where the animals live.
You bad.
So right, yeah, and for those of you that don't know, this is a saying that is common in East Belfast. Yeah, North Belfast, North Belfast has a sea because that's where the animals go, which is where the Shankill Road is, and also North Belfast was the worst place to be during the Troubles. Social deprivation in that area is. Sam G says nothing wrong with North Belfast. Yeah, there's a hell of a lot of social deprivation. There's a lot of peace walls. It's a divided community. Some people will ask why those people in the working class areas facing each other with walls between don't share anything. Because see in North Belfast, they've got fuck all to share. There's nothing.
Can I just the picture behind me is the camp memorial, and it's set in a field, and each year, depending on how many veterans have took the life through suicide, or they put lanterns up, but that's a nighttime view of it. That.
That looks good. That is
does,
nice.
doesn't it? It's a good picture, that one. I always pride myself as a good picture. I think it might have been Little Veteran who took that picture. I think I'm not 100% positive, but yeah, it's a really good place, and you know it's been supported not just by veterans but by civvies as well who've come and done work there and you know helped build the camp up. But it is a beautiful place. It really is. I can't say enough about it. There is a family day, a family weekend, 3rd and 4th of August. If anyone's interested in coming to Bath, Norton St. Phillips, anybody can come. We haven't really got any issues. As long as they're there for a family day, bring your kids and stuff like that. It's not going to be a day of partying or drinking. It'll be focused on family and children. So there'll be a couple of bouncy castles. There'll probably be some horse riding, or not horse riding, but like you'll be on top of a horse around a field.
Yeah, like the wee like pony track type thing.
Yeah.
Lovely. And damn, I'll get that on the diary so I can give that a shout out as well closer to the time. Other than that, is that you? Is that everything? Yep. Right. No, sorry. That sounds awful. Mate, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Oh, it has, mate. Thank you, and great stuff with the history and all that. I've got to commend. I like my history, and I like people who talk about it. And I liked all your presentation. That was great. That, and you know, we have to remember the sacrifice. And I mean, it's not. It always seems that people will blame the soldier, but it's obviously not the soldier to blame. It's the people who send them to war who are the ones who, you know, we should put questions to.
Oh yeah,
you know, and I know it's important that for a foot soldier to follow orders, otherwise he can die. He can be put into more trouble than he's worth. If you know, when they storm them beaches, if they said to you, you've got to keep going forward, don't stop. If you stop, you're gonna prevent other people from going forward, and more people are gonna die. You know, you got to, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, once they landed on the beach, they were dead men until they got off it. Anybody that stayed on that beach was dead, and going back wasn't an option, and they all had to do it together. You know, there's that. Right. On that, it's been an absolutely brilliant stream. I'm going to fire up an outro. I think we're going to go with harmony, melody, and rhyme. If I can find it. Where is it? No, we're not going to have harmony, melody, and rhyme, because I can't find that one. Right, we'll go with Eat the Bugs. Present. It would help if I had actually done the thing right. Fuck me. Sorry. Video fade. That's it. Hold on. And rare. We do have harmony, melody, and rhyme. That would help. Here we go.
This is 42 speaking. Welcome to the Resistance. You are not alone, and we shall walk this journey together. What about you, John? If one brings a guitar and one brings a voice, then they stand together and make their own choice. Let us gather together those that can perform, and from the scarred timbers build our own platform. From that grand house they tried to burn down, there's gold in the ashes if you look around. Let us gather together those that can perform, then from those scarred timbers build our own platform. Build our own platform. We will sing words of wisdom. We will sing world harmony, melody, and rhyme. We descended from minstrels in old days of yore. We will create a culture as we did once before, forced to stand by as our country was sold. Did you really think we'd leave that story untold? So one brings a guitar and one brings a voice, then they stand together and make their own choice. They have seen the future, the way forward is clear. Among us still stands a modern day Shakespeare. They have seen the future, the way forward is clear. Among us still stands a modern day Shakespeare. Stand by as our country was sold. Did you really think we'd leave that story untold? We will sing words of wisdom. We will sing sing. Harmony, melody, grind. Harmony, melody, and grind. So one brings a guitar and one brings a voice. Then they stand together and make their own choice. I have seen the future, the way forward is clear. Among us still stands a modern day Shakespeare. With power and wealth, you control the mainstream, but you never realized you could not kill a dream. So we will gather together those that can perform, and from the scarred timbers build our own platform. You're talking to 42. What about you, chum? If one brings a guitar and one brings a voice, then they stand together and make their own choice. We will sing words of wisdom, we will sing for all time. We will sing for our people, harmony, melody, and rhyme. We will sing words of wisdom, we will sing for all time. We will sing for our people with the ancient trilogy of harmony, melody, rhyme. We created our society through thoroughly golden tribe. The gods of water, earth, and land brought us through alive. The earth, the moon, the sun, each became a deity, independent parts of another trilogy. Is it a coincidence or is it just sublime that we now bring excellence in harmony, melody, and rhyme? With power and wealth, you control the mainstream, but you never realized you could not kill a dream. You cannot kill a dream, and we shall walk this journey together.
Okay, everybody. John's been John. I've been 42. You lot in the chat have, as always, been fucking amazing. Thank you. Good night. God bless. And I'll see you all next week. I'm out of here. Goodbye.